Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I am your host, Hery Acosta. Let's hop straight into it. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Now let's talk about the Lakers game, which is tonight at 7 p.m. What can we really talk about? They have Luka Doncic. The man is an absolute baller. Probably the best player in the league right now. I mean, there's a huge conversation. I mean, Jokic last night at 23, 17, and 17. But Luka, he's averaging 33.4 points per game, 8.4 assists, 7.9 rebounds, 1.6 steals, has 33 double doubles this year, which and 8 triple doubles. I mean, you see Luka Doncic and you think this guy's not that kind of person, but then he puts up 60 points, 20 rebounds, and 11 and 10 assists in a game a few years ago when he was on the Mavericks. A lot to look for in this game. The Lakers themselves are actually having a crazy good season. They are third in the West. They are coming off a loss, but they did win 9 games in a row before that. But Luka obviously averaging 33. Reeves is averaging 23 and a half, 5.5 assists. LeBron James at the ripe age of 41 is averaging 21, 7, and 6. 7 assists as a 41-year-old small forward is absurd. DeAndre Ayton is averaging 12.4 points, 8.3 rebounds. Hachimura 11 and 3. And then Marcus Smart, he's been starting. He's averaging 9.5, 3 and 3. But he's also been playing very well on defense. He's that kind of person that's going to prevent big stat lines from big players. They got a bunch of players averaging over a steal, including Marcus Smart, LeBron, and Luka. Overall, there's some things I want to see in this game because obviously this is not a game to win. I mean, last year when we were actually good, they didn't have Luka or LeBron, and Austin Reeves dropped almost 50 points on us. So they're able to get scoring from anywhere. Hachimura can get you 25 points when he truly can, when truly wants to. DeAndre Ayton can hit you with a smooth 15 and 10, as also if he really wants to. Their only issue is consistency. Outside of Luka Doncic and LeBron, they don't have consistency because even Austin Reeves is a little inconsistent. One game he'll drop 45, the next game he'll drop 8. And yeah, a lot of that has to do with how Luka Doncic and LeBron play, but even if they're doing good, the only way the Lakers can succeed is if everybody just stays consistent. Now, if Hachimura wants to be just a flat out 10-point per game scorer and be that consistent, that's good production off the bench. Marcus Smart just consistently be good on defense. There's a lot of games where he just shoots a lot of threes, but he's a decent 3-point shooter. But there's just way too many games where he just decides to try to turn into Steph Curry, but he's shooting like me, and I'm not a good 3-point shooter. And that's just not what you need. Now for the Pacers themselves, we're gonna have a few players most likely out this game. It's the first game of a 4-game homestand. Obviously, the 3 season-ending injuries, we know that. But then Neesmith, Siakam, and Nemhard and Toppin are pretty much 4 best players that are still, here and active. They're most likely going to be out. Now, Toppin himself is probable, so he most likely will be good to go. Siakam just dropped 37 points. I don't see why he wouldn't play. Nemhard was off the injury report for a bit, but anything calf related, I would just sit out because we saw what happened to Tyrese. We saw what happened to Damian Lillard. Just anyone that has a slight calf injury, sit out. Now, obviously, the finals is a different story, but led to this, which it sucks. But you can't really complain too much about probably the most fun playoff series I've ever, at least the most entertaining playoffs I've ever watched as a Pacers fan. Nothing could beat that. But overall, this should be a fun game. And I'm gonna watch it. I'm very excited to see the Lakers here. I was looking for tickets, but then I realized I don't think I'll be able to make it, which sucks. But fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in all the action. Playing Underdog is easy. Just choose where your favorite players can go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, or more. Get your picks right, go into 5,000 times your cash. Now, today is MLB opening day, and Aaron Judge. I know I'm doing baseball just because it's opening day. It's the one time I do baseball. Aaron Judge is currently 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Now, baseball's a lot harder to kind of try to figure out who's going to do what, but this is hits, runs, and RBIs. A two-run home run already gets him out of that, gets him higher than that. And Aaron Judge has led the league in home runs multiple times. He is one of the best power hitters in the league. Um, and it's opening day. He's gonna do something crazy. I think he's gonna go higher than that on his hits, runs, and RBIs. And then just for that, we're also gonna go with Giancarlo Stanton, also the Yankees. His is 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I think he's gonna go higher too. Maybe he'll get a run off an Aaron Judge hit, or you never know at this point. Um, Actually, that one makes sense because usually Judge is one of the first to hit and Stanton after. But we'll see what happens. But use promo code basketball fan to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. All you gotta do, put $5 in, use the promo code, you get $75 in bonus bets. Use them, win some money. Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-878 or text PMI 467-369.
All right, quick message. This is gonna be a quick one for the Pacers themselves. Have some fun. Um, I've been saying this the whole season ever since we really just started losing, losing, losing. It is very important right now to see what our young guys can do. It is very important to see what Cam Jones, what Talon Peter, what Kobe Brown, what Jalen Slauson, Micah Potter, all these guys that weren't really, well, obviously rookies, but other guys that weren't really given chances on other teams. And heck, even Ethan Thompson. I've seen some good stuff out of Ethan Thompson, and I think all these players have, incredible futures, and whether it's in the NBA on another team or overseas, all these players are the best basketball players from their cities. They all made it this far. So it's just good to see what all they can do. And then let's do some March Madness lookup. Now, we've seen some crazy upsets in the second round. The biggest one, obviously, ninth seeded Iowa beating Florida on a game winner. Now, if you look at my brackets, I made five brackets. One of my five brackets had this upset. Because I actually wanted to make like a little bit of an interesting bracket for my last one. That bracket doesn't look that good, obviously, but this was an interesting one that I chose. I had Iowa moving on pretty far in that bracket just because I know they're a good team. They're really good for a 9 seed. Another one is the Tennessee Virginia upset. Virginia is just one of those teams where you can't fully trust in the March Madness, especially after that UMCB lost. Um, I that year I remember I made one bracket. I had Virginia winning that whole thing because I was like, okay, Cal guy is gonna have a crazy run. Then they lose by 20 to a number 16 seed. After that, it's kind of hard to trust Virginia again, but of course they won the next year. St. John's beating Kansas. That the reason that's a big one is because a player like Darren Peterson, you never know how that could hurt his stock. He had a decent performance, don't get me wrong, but it kind of just looks like he wasn't as into the game as some of his teammates. It's a little different than DeBonsa at BYU. DeBonsa had 35 points. You can't ask for more. DeBonsa played his game. His teammates just kind of let him down. But it's just one of those things where you think that something's different than what it is. Some other teams to look at: 11 seed Texas, obviously 9 seed Iowa. Those are the two big ones. All the other teams are like ones, twos, threes, and fives. There's only two number 4 seeds. That's crazy. Okay. And then the women's bracket, there is one team that I want to look at. And I know this is a little bit out of subject, but usually in the women's brackets, there's not a lot of upsets. But there is a 10 seed in the Sweet 16. I don't remember the last time this happened, but Iowa had probably the biggest upset in the men's, but then they got the biggest up. They like were the biggest upset in the women's. Their number 2 seed lost to Virginia, and Iowa has always had a good women's basketball team. Always had Caitlin Clark, Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall. Um, they've always had a good team, but they lost to Virginia, who that pretty much took out every women's bracket. There were still a lot of perfect brackets up until that. I did predict the Notre Dame over Ohio State. I'm the only person in my group that got that because I'm in a little group with some friends, just a few friends, but I did predict that. And then I'm excited to watch some of these games like Vanderbilt. I have UConn winning the women's. I think there's no better coach in sports history than Gino Ariano. I mean, he's got 12 national championships, 3 gold medals, so many Coach of the Years, 24 Big East titles. Like, he's just the greatest coach of all time. He pretty much started that program himself at UConn, and then from there, the men's program kind of also took off. Men's program themselves have 5 titles. We've seen them win with players like Kemba Walker. The year of Shabazz Napier was an absolute dog. The 2 Donovan Clingan titles. Tristan Newton being on those last few teams. Dan Hurley, overall a pretty good coach. This year, I don't know if they really gonna make it far, but we'll see. But as always, I'm your host Eddie Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby.